All right, folks, here we are. Your commish is here. We're taking a look at the results from week one. And we're going to start by looking at the standings here. First off, we got Bone here, number one, early on in the season here, but he's number one. He got the most points last week, so he's leading both the standings on wins and points, putting himself in the driver's seat there. We're going to be keeping an eye out at number one, but then also number four. So we got B, last man in here, into the playoffs. And then we got Sogot, next man up. Taking a look, this is all by the points scored differential right now. Sogot put up a week total, so he's going to have to improve on that to jump up here. Going forward here, we're going to take a look at game of the week from last week. And last week, we had TD over here putting up a monster score, 192, doing it all on Sunday. Late afternoon scores in the second games with Rivers and Keenum putting up huge points at quarterback. He began the day in the early afternoon with a great game by Joe Mixon. I'll say Dalvin Cook had a really good game as well. He didn't show up on the scoreboard, but he was a machine in the clog there with the Vikings win. And then Antonio Brown put up a good number of points. And then later in the evening, Adams came through on a big play with the Green Bay Packers. He had some disappointing ones, but like the Chargers, still giving up a ton of points to KC, despite Phillip Rivers putting up all these points. And he put up a monster score. So he's up at like 60 points going into Monday night. And Monday night, Sonny brought up a pretty good score here in the first Monday night game with Crowell. Crowell broke off a really big run for a touchdown late in the game. Essentially garbage time points, but I mean, the Jets were doing it. So he put up 25 points there, followed by a strong showing by Goff and even more strong showing by Zerlin. And that was enough to push Sonny over top of TD by like a point. And Sonny gets the win. And TD is just looking back at the weekend saying, what the heck happened? Hands in his face, tears streaming down his cheeks, saying, not me. It's happened again. Now we're going to take a look at some of the transactions. How are people trying to get better from week one? So we're going to start off here at the bottom because this is all time oriented. Sonny just went into Tuesday before all the waiver wires and dropped DJ Moore. He had enough of DJ Moore. He said adios. He would then have a later pickup. Wasn't even waiting for the waiver wires, but he'd pick up Willie Snead here. So he was just surfing around, seeing what was happening at wide receiver there. Only a few got picked up, but he wasn't waiting around for waivers with them. So we got Sogot here. He picked up a waiver wire with Inawa from the Jets, who was like the dump-off man. We had a pretty good game, and it might be the security blanket going forth, so that's probably a solid pickup. Probably better than Crowder on the Skins. He would know. He's watching the Skins every week. He's watching the Jets every week. Other wide receiver that went, Paul Richardson was dropped by Josh for Lockett. Lockett definitely had a better game. I don't even know who Richardson's is, so good thing Josh got rid of him. We'll also take a look. Josh had some other moves. He was all over the waiver wires, throwing himself into the 10th waiver pick going in from here on out. Picking up Philip Lindsay, part of that timeshare in Denver, over Bernard. I mean, he loves his Denver Broncos, so he knows what he's doing there. And then he's also picked up Ebron, who looked to be probably the better of the two Indianapolis tight ends that they had there, and dropped Brat because he's not good. Not a lot of decent tight ends out there, and Tampa Bay's offense. We'll have to see if uh, Brian's new boy down here, Ryan Fitzpatrick, can continue to do it. So this is the first waiver that went off the board. He's dropping Sam Bradford out of Arizona. Had enough of that offense. Takes a look at the 5 touchdown performance by Ryan Fitzpatrick and says, "That's where I'm going." So only quarterback to be picked up here. And Brian got him off waivers. I think he's probably the only quarterback that was on waivers that was projected to continue to start. We got a few injured quarterbacks out there that are questionable right now. We'll get to some of those. And then other move, tight end. Jared Cook looked like a mismatched monster out there with Oakland. And dropping Charles Clay, probably the smart idea by MJ, because man, those Buffalo Bills, their offense looks anemic, and probably not getting that much better with the rookie under center as well. Going up here, kind of after the waivers, Sogat here dropped the Saints. Had a terrible showing against Tampa Bay, letting Fitzpatrick throw all over him. Adding the Texans, probably a good pick. They're strong on defense, and no one really wanted him kind of going up against the Pats. So he's going to take them, maybe hold on to them as they run through their really crappy division. Last move of the day, made around lunchtime. IEC got hungry, dropped Delaney Walker, who's out for the year, hurt, bad dislocation, picks up Austin Hooper. Maybe if he was watching the waiver wires, he would have been able to pick up Ebron if he wanted him, or Jared Cook. Probably a better pick than Hooper. So IEC was asleep at the wheel yesterday when putting in waiver wires, in my opinion. We'll have to see how Hooper does. All right. Next, we're going to be taking a little bit of a preview at week 2 coming in here. We got myself going against TD. We got Sogat going against Hammy. We got Bone going against Aisi. And in the battle, someone's going to go 0-2. We got MJ versus Shazad. And then in the battle of first place, someone's going to be 2-0 out of here. Someone's going to be sitting pretty, holding in playoff position here. We got B and Sunny. So we're going to take a quick look into some of these matchups. So we got Tony versus TD. Tight line here, 9-point difference. More check marks over to myself right now. I have to say, taking a look at some of a difference maker in this matchup, I really like Kamara here against the Cleveland Browns. Not the greatest of defenses in Cleveland. Saints are probably salty coming off that loss. They're going to be at home. Kamara put up a ton of points. He's projected at 25.1 even, and that's, I think, the highest projections that we got coming into the week as well. So Kamara looks like a stud. Over on TD's side, I really like the Antonio Brown matchup against KC. They're not a great secondary, and we got the Steelers coming home. Big Ben always plays better there. Antonio Brown's going to look to make some noise. And then Rivers against Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo was just terrible on defense. We'll have to see if being at home in Buffalo is gonna make a difference. You got the West Coast going to East Coast, but I mean, this is still a matchup. I like Rivers throwing the ball around. Taking a look down at injuries, still got Wentz out, so we'll be watching that. And a lot of questionables. Thomas should play. Burkhead's got a concussion, so maybe not. Shepard's got a bad back. Maybe not there. So these are kind of iffy. Fuller, I think it's a hamstring. And Devontae Adams, short shoulder. He hurt that late in Sunday night's game. Those ones are going to have to be wait and sees for TD here. So he's looking like he might need some wide receiver help coming in here. But they're at least projecting Adams at this point in time. I got to say, in this matchup, I like the Cleveland Steamers topping the underdogs. All right, we're going to take a look at Sogat and Matthew Hamilton. Hammy 2013. Rolling it back to a half decade ago. We got Sogat's team here. The one who I like really standing out here, being a difference maker, I like Beretta. Detroit's defense was awful. The 49ers, they're going to scheme very well against this defense, and I think this is a good sneaky little pick as far as difference maker being here. I'd be worried if I was Fitzgerald against the Rams as well, and Elliott probably have at least a decent game against the Giants. I'd be worried about David Johnson as well. Looks like he's a little bit banged up down here, but he will probably play. Just the character guy he's been. Greg Olson out. Interesting that Sogot's hanging on to him onto the roster spot here. We saw a lot of tight ends go this week, so maybe Sogot's waiting for something to happen out there. Another guy to break through. Then we got on Hammy's side. I gotta say, I'm probably a bigger fan of Barkley going into Dallas. I think they're gonna feed him. I would expect more points out of Barkley than I would Elliott in this game. The Giants seem to play better in Dallas, and this Dallas team is just no good. Defense is probably their strong suit, but it wouldn't shock me to see Barkley break through on that. Another one that I like here is I like Stills going against the Jets. Sneaky performance by Stills here, and I think they're going to need to throw to kind of hang in there with the Jets. So we'll be watching for that one as well. And we got Marshawn Lynch, questionable. I think he had some illnesses. Not projected to do a ton of points. We'll have to see if Hammy's looking to round out something a little bit different there. You could probably expect better out of running back number 2. And as such, Sogot is heavily favored, 15.1 points. I gotta like him in this matchup as well. Sogot's up there with, I think, the second most projected points. So that's quite a solid expectation out of this. So Sogot's maybe looking to step it up a little bit after a disappointing yet a win in week 1. Taking a look at Josh versus IEC. Here we got a ton of check marks next to Josh, but 12.9, 13-point favorite, decent. But the check marks make you believe it's a lot more than that. On Josh's side, I really like Hopkins' matchup. He didn't have a stellar game last week, but going against the Tennessee Titans, I see a breakout performance from him there. Another one, I also like Juju Smith, just like I liked Antonio Brown earlier against KC. I could see Juju Smith having a great game, well above his projected numbers there. On IEC's side, I like Kareem Hunt. He didn't get a lot of play in the game last week, but I could see a lot of dump downs to him, a lot more runs, maybe establishing a little bit of counterbalance as compared to the quarterback display that was on in Kansas City last week. So I like Kareem Hunt to kind of come back from there, but I don't like anyone else really like breaking out for Mike. We're just going to have to watch. Some of his injuries here are some big ones. So Fournette got knocked out of that game earlier, and Big Ben is worse for wear right now as well. And Icy can't really contend with any more quarterback injuries. He's got all 4 roster spots filled. Winston suspended. Big Ben's hurt. He's throwing in Darnold right into the meat mixer here. And as such, I see Bone winning this game. So we'll give that one to Josh. Taking a look at the Little Rascals MJ and Flutie Magic with Shazad. Over here, I like the Chargers on MJ's side going against that Buffalo team. I probably like Gordon more so than Keenan Allen. I expect a really big game out of Gordon here. One of the other things we'll have to watch on MJ's roster is that twisted knee by Rodgers here. He's questionable. Is he going to play? He's projected to get pretty good points, but that Minnesota defense is hungry. You know they're going to be going after him. Over here on Shazad's side, I really like Jimmy G, Garoppolo here. That Detroit defense was porous. If you got Savior Sam Bradley shredding you like Swiss cheese, Jimmy Garoppolo and Shanahan are going to annihilate you, especially in a return to San Francisco. They're playing at home. Detroit's on the road. Patricia's a terrible defensive coordinator in New England. He's an even worse head coach. I think you can kind of see it just written all over the wall here. Jimmy Garoppolo's going to have a big game. Other one that I like, James Conner. Hopefully tearing through that porous defense on Kansas City as well. That one could easily turn into a shootout. They always have some weird games, the Chiefs and Steelers, as they go forth. Another guy to keep an eye on, Allen Robinson. Very quiet last week, but Seattle's secondary is poor, and Chicago's coming home. We'll have to see if they get Allen Robinson into the mix there. I'll note down here with injuries and everything. So we noted Rodgers there. Freeman, somewhere to watch. Baldwin, pretty much out, and he's projected that way in MJ's roster. But Shazad, still with Des Bryant. I don't know what he's holding out for. Shazad, drop Des Bryant. Pick up someone who's actually going to play this year. Terrible draft pick. I don't know what you're doing. We're taking a look here at the points. MJ is favored by about 8. And I got to say, I'm going with Shazad in this one. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to way outdo those points that are there. And I expect Connor, projected at 21, to be right there. But I'd also expect Cooks and Robinson to outproject where they are. So I'm expecting Shazad to win out of this one, and we'll see how that one turns out. Last game of the week, we got the B team with Brian. We got Chinese Gangstas with Sonny. This one, someone's going to be 2-0 out of it, so going in, marquee matchup. Very evenly matched. You see just the point difference here. This one, well, everyone's got to keep their eye on with it. Something to watch here. Fitzpatrick going against that nice Philly defense. Ton of points. Looking back, he kind of does that every once in a while, Fitz. But can he do that against Philly? Philly's still got a ton of talent on that defense. This is going to be a tough one. Players that I do like, though, I like Ajayi going against that Tampa Bay defense. They really leaned heavily on him with the Eagles' offense last week, and I could see him breaking out more yardage than he did against a good Atlanta defense. Wouldn't be shocked if he got multiple touchdowns there as well. So I would expect him to outperform that 13.9 points. Also, I really like Alex Smith. High projected points, and that seems about right. I mean, they're going to be at home, taking Indy out of the dome against a terrible defense, offensive-minded team. I really like Washington in that game, and I like Alex Smith to put on a show and really get people talking about the Washington Redskins being 2-0. On the Gangstas side of the house, again, Giants going down to Dallas. I like Odell Beckham Jr. He'll be in the bright lights looking to put on a show. Interesting enough, I do like Jared Goff against Arizona. They should roll, and that doesn't stop the Rams from continuing to throw. I think he's going to outperform this 19.3 points. And then lastly, Adrian Peterson. I think he's going to be a big part of the offense too with the Washington Redskins. That 15 points seems pretty good, and if you're getting that out of your flex, that's a pretty good spot to be in. As far as injuries go, I mean, not an injury, but Bell is out, and that's killing B. He's got some others. You know, Jeffries isn't back yet. Sony, Michelle, he's out too, and then Parker. We'll have to see if he's playing. He was a late scratch last week, so B starting into some of the reserves because these are some of the starters you'd expect to have there. And he wouldn't have what I'd call like his number one pick out of Bell. So if you start, and then we got Sonny here. He's got Goodwin, who's questionable. He didn't have him week 1. If he's in and playing, I see him more than this 11 points. So taking a look at where we are right now, very close matchup. I got Gangstas edging out in this one. I see Sonny being up there at 2-0. and we'll have to see how week 2 goes, guys. Continue to subscribe, give me the comments, and we'll see you at the end of week 2.